Hello everyone, my name's Lex, and I actually wanted to do something prior to us jumping on to Lancer in a couple of hours. Well, more like an hour and a half at this point. I guess last time I had done a little bit of a read along on the core rulebook for Lancer RPG. So I kind of wanted to pick up on another part of that, and then there was Lancer Tactics that I just wanted to jump into real quick at least. So the core rulebook, or at least the version I have, was a free version. I know there's an extended version that has more stuff to it. We had gone over section 0, which was getting started. I'm not gonna do the character creation stuff. That may be for a longer, if I actually had a longer period of time to do this. I do want to drop into probably section 3 because we've already had our first combat in Red's game. Actually, I think I have it here. So yeah, that was session 1 of Red's game, and we're going into session 2 tonight. But yeah, I think I'm going to actually go over into section 3, mech combat, and go over some basics, turn-based combat, and some other stuff. Or at least try and get somewhere within this. So what we're looking at, 56-ish. Alright, combat basics. It's entirely possible to play through a session of Lancer without even touching a mech, let alone mech combat. Okay, why the fuck were you playing Lancer then? Sorry. Some groups prefer a game focused more on role-playing and politics, in which most conflicts are decided with skill checks. I mean, I could see that, but I kind of feel like the main billing point is, you know, you're hopping into a mech and you're fucking shit up. That's like, alright, you know what? Each table's to each their own. That said, Lancers have a particular talent, and it's one that's bound to come up during missions. Fighting in mechs. Even if you're playing a more narrative game, there are times you'll find that you want combat to be more tactical, and for each decision to matter more. You'll want to test out your ingenuity and put your mech building and fighting skills to good use. That's the signal that it's time for mech combat. Unlike narrative play, mech combat is tactical and turn-based. It's also primarily about mechs. You can certainly use the mech combat rules for fights between pilots, but the options are far less interesting. There are a couple of key differences between using the mech combat rules to play out combat and playing it out narratively. In mech combat, instead of using triggers and skill checks to determine the outcome of conflicts, you use attack rolls, mech skill checks, and saves. Players take turns, and during their turns have access to specific actions or specific types of actions. The stakes of mech combat are much higher and the scale much larger. Whatever other skills your pilot has, it's only their experience fighting in a mech that will help them succeed. Instead of getting bonuses from triggers, a pilot's grit determines their bonuses for attack rolls and saves. Characters and objects. There are two kinds of entities that mechs are likely to interact with during combat: characters and objects. Broadly speaking, a character is anything capable of independent action. This includes player characters or PCs, which are pilots and mechs controlled by the players, and non-player characters and PCs, which are controlled by the DM. As long as they take independent actions or reactions, non-sentient characters like drones and automated turrets can also be characters. Characters can be hostile or allied depending on their attitude towards you, rather than your attitude to them. You never count as an allied character to yourself. That did come up in the first session, but I think we kind of just played around it. I think it was specifically around the turret drones that I was placing. I guess you could say they were part of my character's mech frame, but I don't know. It was a weird situation. Either way, we ruled that it was fine that I could use my attack to trigger their reaction. An object is anything that isn't a character and that isn't held, worn, or otherwise part of a character. This includes both terrain features, for example, walls, boulders, and trees, and pieces of gear that have been placed down or deployed, for example, shield generators and landmines. Space, size, and measurement. Movement, range, area of effects, and all other distances are measured in spaces. Spaces are equivalent to hexes or squares on a grid map, but can also be measured in inches or similar if you're keeping track of position another way. By default, each space is equivalent to 10 feet or 3 meters, but the scale can be changed to represent different types of encounters. For example, in a massive pitched battle, spaces might be 50 feet on each side. All characters and objects have a size statistic, which describes their physical presence on the battlefield and how many spaces they occupy. A size 1 character occupies 1 space on all sides and is 1 space high, while a size 3 character occupies 3 spaces on all sides and is 3 spaces high. Most characters and objects range between size 1 and size 3. Size doesn't always represent a precise height and width. It describes an area of influence. Not all characters are physically as tall as the space they can control around them. For example, most size 1 mechs are taller than 10 feet. Characters and objects can be smaller or larger than size 1. Pilots, for instance, are size 1/2, while mechs can go up to size 3 and beyond. When measuring spaces, anything smaller than 1 is rounded up. Both size 1 mechs and size 1/2 pilots take up 1 by 1 squares or hexagons. It's useful to use a map and tokens, icons, or miniatures to track characters and objects during mech combat. The easiest option is to use a tactical grid or hex-based battle map, but you can also measure distances in inches or some other unit of measurement. So a list of typical sizes here: 1/2 for humans, smaller mechs, extravehicular activity, EVA suits, like power armors and stuff like that. I'm guessing. 1 is for standard mechs, 2 for tanks or vehicles like APCs or construction vehicles, or heavier mechs, 3 for siege mechs or large or heavy vehicles, and 4+ for titanic mechs and flyers. Okay, so all of our, at least on our squad, mine, Dom, and Caden X, we were all size 1. Remy, he's a big boy. He took a size 2 mech. And so far, we've only faced off against also size 1 and size 2 mechs. What was her name? Rowley, who was the pilot of our dropship, she was, because she had to be placed on the battle map, so she was a size half. But as it was stating above, even though they're size half, they have the influence of a size 1. So they took the whole hacks. I am curious what we may run into that will be size 3 and 4. If we do, that'll be interesting. Turn-based combat. Alright, starting combat. To begin mech combat, the GM merely needs to declare it. Hostile moves like firing at enemies, grappling, and charging are usually enough to initiate combat. When the GM declares that combat is about to start, they show the map to the players, at least the parts the pilots are able to see. Explain the position of any visible NPCs or terrain features, and describe the situation. The players then place their characters on the map, wherever is appropriate, and the first turn begins. And then ending combat. Combat ends when one side has carried out their main objective, usually the defeat, destruction, or rout of the other side, but not always. Combat doesn't always end with the total destruction of one side or another. It's perfectly fine for a GM to end combat early and return to narrative play if there are no questions as to the outcome. NPCs often have objectives of their own and tend to be concerned with self-preservation. Surrender and retreat are perfectly valid and conditions for a fight, which we did come across that when we won our combat by having the enemy side retreat. And we took one of their pilots alive. So it wasn't a full rout or destruction of their side. Rounds or turns and rounds. Mech combat is separated into turns and rounds. Each character takes one turn per round unless they otherwise specified. Weird. That. A round ends when every character capable of taking a turn has taken a turn. Turns represent activity, not the passing of time. Even though characters act in a certain order, the turns in each round are assumed to narratively occur at roughly the same time. Players always get to act first. When mech combat begins, the players agree on a player or an allied NPC to take the first turn. If the players can't agree on someone, the GM chooses. Next, the GM chooses a hostile NPC to act, followed by a player or allied NPC nominated by the player who acted previously. This is followed by another hostile NPC of the GM's choice, then another player, and so on and so forth, alternating between hostile and allied characters until every character has acted. If all characters on one side have acted, the remaining characters take their turns in order decided either by the GM or players as relevant. When every character has taken a turn, the round ends and a new one begins. The turn order continues to alternate, so if one side took the last turn in the previous round, the other side starts the new round. This can result in hostile NPCs acting first in the new round. Some talent systems and weapons can be used once per round, turn, or scene. In their rules, this is written as one per round, one per turn, and so on. Alright, types of actions. Characters can choose between several different kinds of action, depending on what they want to achieve. On their turn, characters can make a standard move and take either 2 quick actions or 1 full action. Same action cannot be taken more than once per turn, except in certain cases, for example, special actions like free actions and reactions. So the example they have here is... Okay, I see now. So a player will get 1 move action that they can do and that during their turn, and then they get to pick between either a full action or 2 quick actions on their turn, And then once per turn, they also get a chance to overcharge, which will give them an extra quick action to do, but it will also give them heat as well for their frame. So a standard move, it's movement up to the character's maximum speed. A quick action, actions that take a few moments, such as quickly firing a weapon, activating a system, or moving further. Full actions are actions that require full attention. For example, firing a barrage, performing field repairs on a mech, and so on. In addition to move, quick, and full actions, there are several types of special actions. Reactions, and overcharge. Unlike the standard action types, there's no limit to how many free actions and reactions a character can take per round. Characters can even take reactions outside of their turn. So a free action are special actions granted by character traits like mech systems and talents. Characters can take free actions at any point during their turn, and they don't count toward the number of quick actions or full actions they take. They can also be used to take actions more than once per turn. For example, if a character can boost as a free action, they can do so even if they've already used boost in the same turn. Reactions are special actions that can be made outside the usual turn order as responses to incoming attacks, enemy movement, and other events. Each reaction can only be used a certain number of times per round, and a character can only take one reaction per turn. Their turn or that of another character, but there's no limit to how many reactions can be taken overall. Let's see, a character can only take one reaction per turn. Wait. A character can only take one reaction per turn. That's okay. I may have to look into that. That sounds a bit weird. Maybe that's just me. Mechs have 2 default reactions. Oh. Each of which can be taken once per round. Brace and Overwatch. But some systems and talents grant additional reactions. Unless specified, reactions resolve after the action that triggers them. Some resolve beforehand under specific triggers, such as when an attack is declared but not before the roll is made. If so, the reaction will specify. Then overcharge. Pilots can overcharge their mech, allowing them to make an additional quick action at the cost of heat. Miscellaneous activities like talking, wiping sweat out of someone's eyes, slapping a button, and taunting an enemy are considered actions and can be done anytime during a character's turn. Glad that's specified. If a player has a specific goal or an outcome in mind, like taunting an enemy to draw their attention away from an injured friend, then it might be an action, but it is just a matter of talking smack. But if it's just a matter of talking smack, there's always time for that. Okay. Movements. On their turn, characters can always move spaces equal to their speed, in addition to other actions. This is called a standard move to distinguish it from movement granted by system or talents. A character only counts as moving if they move one or more spaces. Characters can move into any adjacent space, even diagonally, as long as the space isn't occupied by an obstruction and is one that they would be able to move in. Characters can't move straight up unless they can fly, for example. There are several factors that can affect movement, which are detailed here. Alright, splitting up movement and action. Anytime characters voluntarily move, whether it's a standard move or something else, they can split up their movement with any actions. However, when they do this, any non-movement actions they take must fully resolve before they continue moving. For example, a mech with 6 speed could move 4 spaces, barrage, then move 2 more spaces. However, it would need to complete the full barrage action, which is firing with 2 mounts, before moving those final 2 spaces. It couldn't fire 1 mount, then move 2 spaces, and then fire the other mount. Adjacency. Characters are considered adjacent to another character or object when they are within one space of it in any direction, even diagonal and vertical. Obstruction. An obstruction is anything that blocks passage, preventing movement into its space entirely. Obstructions are typically environmental, but other characters can also be obstructions. Characters are obstructed by any solid objects or characters that are the same size as them or larger. Characters can freely pass through spaces occupied by obstructions smaller than them, including other characters. However, they can't end a movement in a space that is occupied by another character or object unless specified. This means that a size 2 mech, for example, could move through the space of a size 1 mech or object, but could not finish its move in the same space. Okay. I was just kind of rereading that paragraph. All right. Allied characters never cause obstruction, but characters still can't end moves in their space. Additionally, mechs can always move through spaces occupied by unmounted humans. Engagement. If a character moves adjacent to the hostile character, they both gain the engaged status for as long as they remain adjacent to one another. Range attacks made by an engaged character receive a +1. Oh, that's a oh god. It's not accuracy, it's difficulty. They gain +1 difficulty. That's what that minus symbol is. Additionally, characters that become engaged by targets of equal or greater size during the course of a movement stop moving immediately and lose any unused movement. After you become engaged with a character, you may make further move actions as normal, and moving into adjacent spaces does not stop your movement, though beginning a move within that character's threat may provoke reactions such as Overwatch. Alright, movement and reactions. Starting movement within threat of another character, typically 1 to 3. I think that's of hexes. I'm not exactly sure what that symbol is. I may have to look it up. Can trigger reactions such as Overwatch. Characters that want to move more cautiously can disengage as a full action, allowing them to ignore reactions and engagement when moving. So disengage is full action. Involuntary movement. When characters are pushed, pulled, or knocked in certain directions, it is called involuntary movement. Involuntary movement forces the affected character to move in a straight line in a specified direction. When moving involuntarily, mechs do not provoke reactions or engagement unless specified otherwise, but are still blocked by obstructions. Oh. So I'm wondering if that would have triggered. Yeah, it would have to be detailed. I'm thinking of a certain scenario that happened in the first session, and if that would have been involuntary movement or not. Maybe not. Maybe it was because it was being hacked. That's why it triggered. Difficult / dangerous terrain. Mech combat takes place on many types of worlds in countless hostile and hazardous environments. Difficult terrain can be anything from rough, marshy, or swampy ground through to icy landscapes and treacherous rocky debris. All movement through difficult terrain is at half speed. Each space of difficult terrain they move into is equivalent to 2 spaces of movement. When a character ends their turn in dangerous terrain or move into it for the first time in a round, they must make an engineering check. On a failure, they take 5 damage, whether being kinetic, energy, explosive, or burn, depending on the hazard. Each character only needs to make one such check per round. Intense radiation, boiling gases, lava, and falling rocks are all examples of dangerous terrain. Damn, 5 damage. That's like, because one of your health bars is 10 total. So half of a health bar just from standing on dangerous terrain. Jeez. Lifting and dragging. Mechs can drag characters or objects up to twice their size, but are slowed while doing so. They can also lift characters or objects of equal or lesser size overhead, but are immobilized while doing so. Oh. While dragging or lifting, characters can't take reactions. The same rules apply to pilots and other characters on foot, but they can't drag or lift anything above one hand. All right, jumping and climbing. Characters with legs can jump instead of their standard move. They may jump horizontally, moving half their speed in a straight line and ignoring obstructions at ground level that they could jump over, such as pits or gaps. Or they can jump vertically, moving one space adjacent and moving up by spaces equivalent to their size. For example, a size 1 mech could jump to a 1 space high and 1 space over. Characters that jump and end the jump mid-air automatically fall at the end of the move. There's falling. Like moving through difficult terrain, characters climb at half their usual speed. Each space moved is equivalent to 2 spaces normally. A successful hull or agility check might be required to climb particularly difficult surfaces without falling. Alright, talking about falling. Characters take damage when they fall 3 or more spaces and cannot recover before hitting the ground. In circumstances, characters fall 10 spaces per round, but mechs can't fall in 0G or low G environments, and falling speeds may differ depending on the location. Unless specified otherwise, characters start to fall at the end of the current turn and fall at the end of each of their turns thereafter. They take 3. Was that kinetic? Yeah, they take 3 kinetic armor piercing. AP armor piercing for every 3 spaces fallen, to a maximum of 9 AP. Falling is a type of involuntary movement, so that won't trigger reactions if they're moving past someone. Gravity. Mechs operating underwater in 0G or in space are slowed unless they have a propulsion or flight system. However, they can't fall they can't fall and can fly when moving regardless of whether they have a flight system. So, for flight, some characters can fly for either all or part of their movement. Flying characters can move vertically and horizontally up to their speed. For example, a mech with a flight system and 6 speed could end its movement anywhere within 6 spaces of its starting location, up to a maximum of 6 spaces high. Flight movement must follow a straight line. However, if character takes additional movement actions such as boosts, these can be used to move in a different direction. When flying, characters ignore obstructions as long as it is physically possible for them to do so. They couldn't, for instance, move through a gap smaller than their mech. Flying characters also have immunity to prone. Flying comes with risk. When flying, character must move at least 1 space on their turn or begin falling. Flying characters begin falling if they become immobilized, stunned, or otherwise can't move. Flying characters that take structure damage or stress must succeed on an agility save or begin falling. Oh. So you can get knocked out of the sky pretty easily. During mech combat, characters that fly too high above the battlefield can only take certain actions. Flying characters must remain no more than 10 spaces over any surface. For example, ground water structures to act normally. For instance, a flying mech could move 10 spaces above the ground or float 10 spaces above a building 5 spaces high, a grand total of 15 spaces above the ground, and still act. Characters cannot move beyond this distance if they have already taken an action in the same turn. If they do move more than 10 spaces above the battlefield, they can only move and boost and cannot take a reaction until they start their turn below that ceiling. This restriction does not exist in 0G and outside of mech combat. Okay, so I guess essentially they don't want people just to be flying super high up and still just bombarding from afar, which kind of makes sense. Carrying objects and flight. Except in 0G environments, mechs cannot carry characters or objects with a total size larger than the size half while flying. Just not enough thrust for it. Hover flight. Some very advanced mechs can hover. Hovering characters do not need to move in a straight line and can remain stationary while airborne without falling. Teleportation. Okay. Some characters can teleport, instantly moving to any free space within a specified range. They must start and end a teleport on a surface they can normally move on. For example, a character that can't fly can't teleport midair. Teleportation ignores obstructions, does not require line of sight. It doesn't require line of sight. Wow. Ignores engagement and does not provoke reactions. However, it still counts as movement, so is affected by conditions like immobilize. A teleporting character counts as moving one space no matter how far they travel. Okay, so that's a very minimum that they have to move for teleporting. Characters can attempt to teleport to spaces they can't see, but if a space is already occupied, the teleport fails. Alright. Attacks. Mechs attack using the skirmish, barrage, quick tech, full tech, and improvised attack actions. Characters on foot attacking characters on foot attack using the fight action. Whichever action is taken, the details of the attacks are determined by the weapons or systems that are used. There are 3 types of attacks in mech combat: melee, ranged, and tech. Melee attack. The attacker chooses a target within weapon threat. That's what that symbol is. It's threat. Okay. And line of sight, then makes a melee attack roll, which is rolling a d20 plus grit and any accuracy or difficulty. To hit, they must match or beat the target's evasion. Melee attacks ignore cover. Range attacks. The attacker chooses a target within range and line of sight, then makes a ranged attack roll, which is a d20 plus grit plus accuracy or difficulty. To hit, they must match or beat the target's evasion. Characters that are adjacent to hostile targets, and which means they're engaged, take a difficulty on all ranged attacks. When firing at targets in soft cover, characters take difficulty on range attacks, and hard cover imposes 2 difficulty. Okay, soft cover is 1 difficulty, hard cover is 2 difficulty. Okay. Now I was just thinking of one of my systems that gives soft cover. Okay, that's good to know. Tech attack. The attacker chooses a target within their sensors and line of sight, then makes a tech attack roll, which is a d20 plus tech attack plus any accuracy or difficulty. To hit, they must match or beat the target's E defense, and then tech attacks ignore cover. Critical hits. On 20 plus on a melee or range attack, it causes a critical hit. Critical hits. All damage dice are rolled twice, including the bonus damage, and the highest result from each source of damage is used. For example, if a player got a critical hit on an attack, that would normally deal 2d6 damage. They would instead roll 4d6 and pick the 2 highest results. Okay. Okay. So I know that my character's heavy machine gun does 2d6. So if I got a crit on that, I'm rolling 4d6, and then let's say I rolled, I don't know, a 1, a 3, a 4, and a 5. I would be taking the 4 and the 5 to calculate the damage. Okay. Range and patterns. Range is measured from any edge of the attacking character unless specified otherwise. Targets must be inside range to be valid targets. On the grid, that means targets must be at least one space inside a character's range to be attacked. Some weapons and systems have special attack patterns: line, cone, blast, and burst. These attacks affect all targets within a defined area. A separate attack roll is made for each target, but damage is only rolled once, and bonus damage is halved if there are multiple characters affected. For any ability or effect calling for you to choose a target or targets within range, a weapon with a pattern can choose any targets that could be hit by its pattern. So if there is line X affecting characters in a straight line, X spaces long. So if it was like line 5, it would be affecting characters that are 5 spaces, that are within 5 spaces long. Cone X affects characters within a cone. X spaces long and X spaces wide at its furthest point. The cone begins at 1 space wide. Blast affects characters within a radius of X spaces drawn from a point within range and line of sight. Cover and line of sight for the attacks are calculated based on the center of the blast rather than the position of the attacker. Burst X affects characters within a radius of X spaces centered on and including the space occupied by the user or target. If the burst is an attack, the user or target is not affected by the attack unless specified. Cover and line of sight are calculated from the character. If a burst effect is ongoing, it moves with the character at its center. Get out of here. Alright, some line, cone, burst, and blast attacks list a range. In these cases, the attack's origin point can be drawn from a point within the range specified and line of sight. For example, an attack with two blasts and 10 range will affect a blast 2 area centered on any point within 10 range. Some frames and systems grant increased range. This does not affect the size. This does not affect the size of the area affected by the cone, line, burst, and blast attacks, although it does increase the range of such attacks that have a listed range. And then threat. Threat is the maximum range at which a melee weapon can be used, and at which both melee and range weapons can be used for Overwatch reactions. Threat, like range, is measured from the edge of a character, so larger mechs cover slightly more area than smaller mechs. Unless noted otherwise, all weapons defaults to 1 threat, which can be increased with some talents and gear. Okay, so some examples. At the top left here, we have a mech that is doing a line attack of 3, so it going from the mech, it extends out 3 hexes. The next one, we have this mech that's doing a cone of 3. And there's 2 examples here of what a cone would kind of look like. This mech at the bottom left here is using an attack that has a range of 3 and a blast of 1. So measuring 1, 2, 3 for the range, and then the blast of from that center point, it is hitting everything that is adjacent to it. I just noticed that this shape is kind of screwed up. And then this one at the bottom right is a size 3 mech, and it's doing a burst of 1. So for every square that is adjacent to the mech is getting hit by this attack. Valid targets. The following are valid targets for attacks and effects. Other characters, objects that aren't held or worn and are part of a mech, spaces in the environment or on the ground. To attack or take an action against a target, by default, the target must be within range, sensors, and threat, as appropriate for the type of attack, and within the attacker's line of sight. Unless otherwise specified, characters can't target themselves. Line of sight. Characters can only attack or take action against targets that they can see, at least partially. If it's not possible to trace a line to some part of a target, perhaps because it's completely blocked by cover or terrain, then they can't be attacked. Line of sight doesn't imply visibility alone, but also a clear path for your attack, which is the line of effect. Even if you can somehow see an area that's behind a solid wall, by using a remote drone, for example, you can't attack targets within it. Arcing. Arcing weapons are designed to lob projectiles over obstacles. They can be used to attack targets without line of sight, although they are still affected by cover, and the attack must be physically possible. An arcing weapon can't fire through 50 feet of a metal bulkhead. Powerful seeking weapons completely ignore cover and line of sight as long as it's physically possible to reach the target. Seeking weapons are usually self-guided, self-propelled, and able to navigate complex environments. Invisibility. Some characters are able to turn invisible. Invisible characters can still be seen or detected by heat patterns and some visual artifacts, but they are extremely hard to target. All attacks, regardless of type, have a 50% chance to miss outright before the attack roll is made. Roll a die or flip a coin to determine if the attack misses. Oh shit. Just straight up 50%. Additionally, invisible characters can always hide, even without cover. Speaking of which, cover. On the battlefield, all sorts of obstructions, physical, mental, electronic, and others, can separate an attacker from their target. The two that matter most are soft cover and hard cover. Soft cover includes smoke, foliage, trees, blinding light, dust clouds, low hills, and low walls, and probably more. As the name implies, soft cover isn't solid enough to reliably block enemy fire, but does cause visual interference or profile reduction sufficient to make aiming difficult. Anytime a target is obscured or obstructed somehow, it has soft cover, adding 1 difficulty to any ranged attacks. Hard cover includes ruined buildings, tall walls, bulkheads, reinforced emplacements, and destroyed mechs and vehicles. Hard cover is solid enough to block shots and hide behind, and adds 2 difficulty to any ranged attacks. Characters only benefit from hard cover if they are adjacent to whatever they're using for cover and are the same size or smaller. A size 3 mech couldn't get hard cover while hiding behind a size 1 rock, for example. If a character is obscured by hard cover but isn't adjacent, they don't get hard cover. However, they might still get soft cover. Oh, didn't realize that. Okay, so they actually have to be adjacent to the cover to actually get the benefit of it. Characters can only benefit from one type of cover at a time. their benefits don't usually stack or don't stack. Unless specified, characters never grant cover to objects or other characters. Some mechs, however, are specifically built to block enemy fire and can grant cover. These mechs typically have the Guardian trait, which, for example, Remy's mech has that because his is a size 2 and it's a Guardian. So we are able to get hard cover if we are essentially standing behind him, more or less. Checking for cover. To determine if a character has soft cover, simply draw a line from the center of one character to the center of another. If a line can be drawn mostly unbroken, it is a clear shot and neither character has soft cover. If the line is significantly obstructed or is broken up by smoke, trees, or fences, the target has soft cover. Targets also have soft cover if they are obstructed by objects that would give hard cover, but which aren't adjacent to them. If a character is adjacent to hard cover, they benefit from that cover against all characters, except for characters that flank them. When using a hex or grid map, targets are flanked if it is possible to draw a line that is totally clear of hard cover between one of the spaces occupied by the attacker and one occupied by the target. If you aren't using a grid or hex map, draw a straight line where the target touches the hard cover, as is in the figure below, which is up here. If the attacker is over this line fully or partially, the target does not benefit from hard cover. If a character in hard cover could shoot over, through, or around the source of their cover, the cover does not block their line of sight or obscure their attacks. Alright, so the example that they have here is that player mech is up top at R, and they have 3 targets that they're looking at. 2 that are behind hard cover, and 1 that's behind soft cover. The Minotaur over here on the right has soft cover from Riley, player character, thanks to the forest that it stands next to. The buildings are hard cover, are obstructing Riley's sight to the goblin, but as the goblin isn't adjacent to that hard cover, it's only getting soft cover from it. But the Pegasus, on the other hand, is adjacent to the building, so it gets full hard cover bonus against Riley's attacks. So if Riley, I guess this guy, was attacking this Minotaur at the bottom right, that means they would have, if they're using a range attack, they have a minus, or they have 1 difficulty to the range attack roll against the Minotaur. Same thing for the Goblin. Since it is getting soft cover from the hard cover that's here, and the Goblin is not adjacent to the hard cover, that's becoming soft cover. Range attacks from Riley would be at 1 difficulty. And if he was to try and go after the Pegasus, it gets a full hard cover, meaning his range attacks against it would have 2 difficulty on it. All right. Another thing that looks at cover here. Let's see. We have Blackbeard, which is B, Lancaster, which is L, and a Genghis, which is a G. So any line from the Blackbeard to the Lancaster would cross the white line marking out the Lancaster's point of contact with the cover, so the Lancaster gets full hardcover bonus against the Blackbeard's attacks. That's not true for the Genghis position, so the Genghis is flanking the Lancaster. Okay. Characters can shoot over cover or objects smaller or same size as themselves without difficulty. Okay, so a size 1 mech could shoot over a size 1 cover, or a cover with 1 height without difficulty. Okay. Let's see. Where are we at? 713. Uh, there's still quite a bit of stuff here. Well, we still have more to go through. I think I'll probably leave it here for now. 'Cause I wanted to jump into Lancer tactics and see that a little bit more, which is also kind of like a tutorial game for this system. If I can remember what folder I put it in. Oh, I did here. Let's see. Let's see. This work? No, it doesn't seem like it does. Hold on a second. Let me. Okay. Excuse me. So this is called Lancer Tactics. And actually, am I able to pull this up real quick? So Lancer was was the tabletop game, but then someone had made a tactics game for Lancer. And I guess it's under their third party uh, agreement of being able to create content for it. So uh, it's not an official game, but it does use they were able to do some adaptations and whatnot for it, which works out at least for a tutorial of the system itself and playing it in more of a video game format. If it would work. And this 2D graphics very much reminds me of like Advance Wars or yeah, Advance Wars. I think it's probably a pretty good description. Granny Pilot, what have you scoundrels done to my rock sapper? Get out of my veld. Officer Pilots. That unlicensed redox reactor was condemned because it was a health hazard containing contraband microbiota. Additionally, your easement permit has expired. Easement, too. We didn't need y'all to allow us to live here. We've been working this land for generations. I remember when this was all chromite, sand, and rock harder than your thicker skulls. Doesn't matter. It's been annexed. We finished the wall. You knew this was coming. You should have moved to a zone you have permits for while you had the chance. Listen, I don't have all day. You're coming with us to a relocation shelter outside the wall. We can either do that before or after we demolish this illegal structure. This is my home. Permits in your zone nonsense didn't exist when my great-grandma built it. But I see I don't have a choice. I'll go get old Nessie from the barn. Good, hurry up. See, you just have to show a bit of force and these people will see sense. Yes, sir. Alright, so operate, I didn't get a chance to actually look at that. So, as we would in a combat, players start first. So we have one move action that we can do. One, well, oh, these are the, I believe, pilots, talents. So they have opportunist, +1 accuracy to melee it when a target is engaged. Partisan, +1 accuracy to the first main melee attack that they do. And handshake etiquette, +1 accuracy to CQB attacks within 3 range. Alright, so they want me to move. We need to approach the barn. We have one thing. Nope, don't want to actually end my turn. Okay. For Granny, she has a speed of 4. This is a pilot, so there's nothing really else that's kind of happening at the moment. So moving 4 spaces, and then they're able. Well, that's just their normal movement. They can spend a quick action to boost, move another 4. I said to hurry it up. By one moment, I need to rest these old bones. Characters cannot typically perform the same action more than once on a turn. For example, you can boost, then attack with a weapon, but you cannot attack with the same weapon twice. Even though Granny had another action available, she has already used boost, so we'll need to end her turn before finishing moving to the barn. Alright, still have actions left. Are you sure you want to turn? Yeah, we've used our one quick action to boost. We can't boost again, even though we have another quick action. We do have attacks, but there's nothing that we're really attacking. We do have some other actions that we can do, but no need. Alright, round 2. So typically, at the start of round 2, this would mean that the enemy side would be going first. But meh. Move. Get to the barn. Use. we're going to climb into the mech that is in the barn. And that's a full action to do so. When is the demolition of this house scheduled? Later today. We have a demolisher on its way now. Cancel it. Sir? I've been looking for a new summer home. This will do. You don't think I came out here to just strong arm an old lady, did you? Wait. Sir, I'm picking up a heat signature. It's coming from the barn. What? Boom. You should have gotten out of my veil when you had the chance. Take her down. Call for backup. Lady, I don't know where you got that mech frame, but you just made the last mistake of your life. Okay, Nessie, we can do this. That big construction mech is only a grunt class. It'll go down in just one hit. The assault frame looks tougher. We'll figure something out. And then round 3. Player goes first. So it looks like they were just pilots. They spent their full action mounting into their frames, and that was it. Alright, so Granny has this Everest, which, if we look at it, it has 4 structure. Each structure is 10 hit points. It has 4 reactors. Each reactor can take up to 6 stress. It has an evasion of 8. So attack rolls that are 8 or higher will hit the mech. It has a speed of 4, sensors of 10. Save target. When this mech forces a save, the target must meet this to succeed. She has her bonuses to all these other skills and whatnot. The frame traits: hyperfuel inject, +1 accuracy to everything, free boost. Initiative, 1 free overcharge action. Pretty similar to the mech that I am running in Red's game. That has the hyperfuel injection and the initiative. I think the initiative is like once per scene, while the hyperfuel inject is like once per rest, if I'm not mistaken. They have 3 weapon mounts. They have a heavy charge blade on their heavy mount. They have an assault rifle on their main mount, and then they have a pistol and a tactical knife on a flex mount. And then for her systems, she has jump jets that allow her to fly. Alright, so we have these 2 mechs that we need to deal with. I don't want to get too close, because... well, yeah, I don't want to get too close. So we'll move to here. And we'll use our attack to... we'll use one quick action to lock on, which gives us +1 accuracy to our next attack, and then we're going to consume that for an assault rifle. And we landed a crit, and we took out that mech immediately. We're just going to end our turn. Ooh. Yep, it's tough. It might be time to pop that hyper fuel pod I've been saving. Using the hyper fuel pod will grant +1 accuracy on all attacks. It also grants a free boost once per turn. System that grants free actions allow an exception to the restriction on duplicate actions. With a free boost, you can boost twice in a round. Alright, so we're going to start a turn. We're going to use our hyperfuel inject. For the rest of the scene, You gain +1 accuracy to all attacks, checks, and saves. Additionally, once per turn, you can boost as a free action. We're gonna do it. All right. So the next thing we're gonna do is whoops. No, we're actually gonna do lock on. Blast them with the rifle. We can move. We do get a free boost per turn. So I think what I'm going to do is move next to them. We're gonna overcharge, push the mech past its limits, gaining an extra quick action at the cost of heat. We're gonna do that. We're gonna attack. And we're gonna do a heavy charge blade. We have no more actions. We did take a heat. I don't know if I want to do an overcharge now. Probably not. Alright, we're just going to end our turn. They really laid into us. Damn. Alright. We're going to... use that heavy blade. Incoming drones, probably responding to a distress signal with heavier units on the way. That's it then. Nothing left to do but die on a hill of their corpses. I just thought that I'd have more time, but that's how it always is. I'll see you soon, Ruby. They're still a ways off, and I'm in bad shape. I should stabilize to batten down a few hatches. Alright, it does want me to escape. But for right now, we're going to stabilize to clear the current damage and heat that we've sustained. Restore health to full, heat to 0, and clear the exposed condition. But it will be a full turn to do so. Alright, and then we're going to... oh, whoops. We're going to move. We do get a free dash, though. Or a free boost. Let's see. Whoops. I think we're just going to end our turn. They're flying, which means I won't be able to hit them with melee weapons. They also look very hard to hit. Good thing I have all reliable here. So starting our turn, we're going to attack. Melee weapons don't do shit, so we're just going to use assault rifle, which works. can't use the assault rifle again because we've already done it once this turn. That would be a repeat action. We could do a basic fragment. Oh, and that killed it. Son of a gun. We're just gonna move here and get some soft cover. Oh, more flying. Kidding yourself. Probably just a subaltern that looked at some trigger happy fob funny. I swear, if hacking these drones gets us caught. There she is. Hot shit, that's a wrecked assault unit. Hi lady, you got hams? You're interrupting my last stand here. Who are you supposed to be? We fight for the freedom of everyone in Viridian. We will see the wall crumble beneath our feet. We call ourselves the Sappers. Sappers. Dust. Is this what the resistance has come to? Taking cyber joyrides with cheap drones. I've heard of you. We lost. You children are just jackals nipping at the heels of an empire. Ooh, that's good. BRB, changing my profile to jackal nipping at the heels of an empire. You are still strong. Why put your strength towards a pointless end? I'm tired. I've already watched all my friends die for things they thought mattered. But here we are, still under Karakin rule. If which hill we die on doesn't matter, I may as well choose this one. As much as I admire spite for spite's sake, we're working on something that could be more fun. I'm transferring a file. Take a gander. Oh, dust save the young. You're walking into a disaster. You'd have to. Damn it, seeing you make the same mistakes we did is just too annoying. Fine, I suppose it'll be a little longer before I join you, Ruby. Alright kids, there's an old rock sapper facility out past the Desolation Zone. You know it? I'm familiar. Meet me there. The high chromite concentrations in those mountains cause scanning dead zones. Noted. Very interesting. It's a date. You'll use these units to cover your escape. Be swift. The wolves have arrived. Smashy McSmashface. And then up top is the escape zone. So 3 units came from the bottom right, but we're not gonna engage that shit. We're gonna get out of here. We're gonna use one of our quick actions for our burst jump jets. Can't use that same action again. Just gonna move to here. Alright, Nelly, you still got some juice in you. Let's get your jump jets fired up. Maybe I should use that second. I think right now we're just going to avoid. Hide. Hidden characters can't be targeted by hostile attacks or actions, don't cause engagement, and enemies only know their approximate location. I'm assuming that's what it says. We've used both of our quick actions, so we're just going to end our turn. Okay, those drones didn't exactly do much, but that's fine. We're gonna use our burst jump jets to fly off to the other side of this wall, and then we're going to GTFO with a boost. Simple enough. So yeah, I think, how much time do we have? A little bit less than 20, well, a little bit more than 20 minutes. That was just the tutorial mission on this. There's 2 others. We can actually do those at another point in time. But yeah, small little product. It's not officially Lancer, but it is a work of from third-party team that was just doing something that was associated with the game. I think I'm going to grab a quick bite to eat and then hop on to our Discord channel so we can get set up for playing in a couple of minutes. So that'll be kind of it for right now. I'll be back and we'll be doing session number 2 of Operation Solstice, run by Red Cobalt Games. All right, catch you later.